Southeast Texas Weekly, brought to you by the Modern Vein Surgery Institute at Privity Clinic for Surgical Care.
Welcome back to Southeast Texas Weekly. I'm Kevin Steele. Back by popular demand, some of the guys we've come to know and love, and maybe not so much love on some cases here. Shane Howard, the Jefferson County Tax Assessor Collector, and Godfrey Leggett, the Democratic activist that we've had on our show now for what, 2 years?
2 or more, yeah.
Fantastic. You love them, you hate them, they're here. It's time. It's on, right, guys? Because look,
no hate.
Does
No hate. We love each
anybody
other.
care about Bridgegate? Can you believe I'm using
Not
the term
this early.
Bridgegate?
Yeah.
Chris
Not this
Christie
early.
involved
Too early
in
to
this
know.
situation. Was Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey, was he actively involved in a political retribution of sorts?
I don't know,
You
but
don't think he was
obviously, well,
involved?
I don't know.
You think he might not have been as clean as
Here's what
so
here's
far
what I'm
he's
saying.
denied
Jury's
it.
still out.
I do not know, but obviously there's a cultural problem there. Obviously what happened was wrong. So far, the steps that he's taken, that appears to be the way that people should handle these things. I do find it interesting that the media has found this to be very, and they're already looking at, is this the end of his career? We've had 17 more times of coverage in one day of this thing than we've had in the
There's been
entire
a lot of
time.
national
At a
media
minimum, I'd
coverage.
say he's not a
Tax
very
bill.
good manager.
Doesn't
because
yeah, not a good manager.
when this was
huh?
first mentioned, he should have dug into it.
But he did.
Well, but
I
he
mean,
didn't
if he-
fire this gal then.
Well,
if
people-
he'd really dug into it, he'd
He
have
fired
fired
her
her then.
yesterday because he says she lied
But he'd
to
his
him.
own, so now he's got to get rid of her.
He got rid of
Yeah.
his deputy
Yeah.
chief of staff after learning
Possibly.
that
I
there
mean,
had been
it
some
could
kind of
go either way,
relationship.
What I look for with situations like this, and especially when you have large staffs, and especially in the governor's office, there's going to be some things that take place. The question is, number one, what type of culture have you established? Number two, when something like this occurs, what is it that you do as a manager? That's what makes
Yeah,
the
this
difference.
is something particularly nasty, though, that he should have investigated.
Well, it's always nasty. The point is what does a manager do when your staff engages in abuse? What are the steps that you take?
How do you
So
handle
far,
it, huh?
on the surface, it looks like this is a pretty good, effective
Godfrey,
management.
if in fact Chris Christie was involved in some way in
He should be indicted.
the emails, he should be indicted, you say. Should he be, does it negate him as a Republican nominee for
Well, if
president?
he's indicted for a crime, I'd think so. But
Yeah, in other words, let's say
there
they don't
could
go
be,
that
there could
far.
be criminal charges come out.
What
of
if he
this.
knows? Because the guy that was
There
being
could be
emailed,
charges.
whatever the email association was between the two, the deputy chief of staff, and a longtime high school
Then
friend
he's
of Chris
then he's a
Christie.
bad manager because he should have known what was going on. He should have gotten to the answers.
Would Chris
Well-
Christie be the nominee of the Republican Party even if he's not implicated in this scandal?
I don't know. I mean, we don't know enough, and it depends on how. You've got to remember what happens as well. If you took the amount of scrutiny that's been applied to this and applied it to, say, for example, the IRS scandal with, the exemption deal. If you looked at it with Benghazi, if you looked at a million different things, you would find that obviously anything can be turned into more than it actually is, or appropriately
And
so.
understand that I'm not mad at Chris Christie.
Yeah.
If I was forced to accept a Republican president, he'd be the one
Yeah,
at the
he's
top
y'all's
of my
favorite.
list.
He's y'all's favorite Republican, and as I always
Well,
tell my Democrat
he's
friends,
at least more sane than
the
some
favorite
of the rest
Republican y'all always say you'll vote for. Eventually, they go the same way as everybody else y'all call crazy. And Mitt Romney used to be Democrat approved. So did John McCain.
Mitt wasn't crazy. He was
so
just Mitt Romney.
Godfrey Leggett, why is a bill to beef up ID theft protections, in part, on healthcare.gov, why is that a bad thing? Why is the Senate Majority Leader not prepared to bring that to the floor?
I don't know.
The bill
except they think
notifies
it's.
victims of
I think they think it's a way to
ID
complicate
theft
a way to complicate
of
the
what
bill.
happened.
They're thinking it's a way to complicate the bill and destroy it. Okay?
actually, no, it's a
But
standalone bill. All
I'm
it
in
does,
favor of ID protection. I really
Yeah.
am.
All
I
it-
just think we're doing a very poor job of it right now.
Does it speak to this idea that has long been discussed that the Democrats and the Republicans just simply will not work together on anything? Most times you might expect a Democratic-led Senate to be in favor of a bill like
well,
this.
I don't know. I mean, I've got my own thoughts, but for a segment like this, and I didn't mean to cut you off, it simply says that the administration has to notify people within 48 hours of any breach, and it does provide some criminal penalties for those that willingly give the information, or don't protect
But
it.
let's talk about
And
Shane.
why they would oppose it, ask them.
Right now, the highest level of ID card the government has is the Twix card, okay? Which you have to get into any refinery or chemical plant or on the dock of any
Right.
port. And yet, a friend of mine that's in the shipping business told me the Twix card is basically a joke. Okay, it's not really that good of a protection.
Yeah.
Understood.
And so we need to improve on
Yeah,
that.
it's a
okay?
bureaucratic, it's a bureaucratic mess, but this has to do with people going on to healthcare.gov, having to share their income information, a bunch of other personal information in order to secure health insurance, and then that information not being protected and the government having immunity from any kind of accountability.
Somebody brought
That's
up
all
the
it's
real
about.
ID card a while back. I'm in favor of a real ID card, and I'm in favor of knowing who every human
about-
being
Like
living
E-Verify, for example?
I want to know who every human being living in the United States is, where they came from, what they're doing.
We're back in just a couple of moments. We've got to talk about the Gates book. We have a special opportunity to talk with several of the candidates for the 36th congressional district race, and we have the opportunity to talk to a candidate for Texas Land Commissioner. It gets funner and funner, doesn't it? When we come back.